This is this question, Dustin, you can't answer this question. It's my favorite question that came in out of all of this. It was fantastic. Cameron Chang from Mission Viejo. Why is Dustin such an amazing person? And how does it feel to be such a big influence on so many young people's lives? You can answer that part. All of you can answer that part. But do you get that a lot, that sort of people who are very moved by what you do and how you react to it, how you cope with it?
I think the reason someone would say that is maybe just because we never held ourselves apart from everybody else. Like, we have no concept of us being like a celebrity or whatever, and other people being somehow different. So I think when people have met us, they've been like, oh, cool, they're really nice, and probably met with other people and not had the experience, and makes us seem maybe cooler than we are. But
I forget who it is exactly that said it, but I noticed that with my other favorite bands, in this case minus the Bear and Death Cab for Cutie, one member also doubles as producer. And how has that experience been for you? Will you continue to produce? And what's the most, I think this part of the question was to all of you, what was the most challenging part about recording this image?
Yeah, I think that's something we'll continue to do for sure. I mean, it was kind of like an experiment almost. You know, this whole record, the whole alchemy of it was kind of an experiment in a lot of ways, and I think this was just one of them. But I think it went really well. It was a lot of fun for us and a huge learning experience, and I think that it's definitely something we're interested in doing.
The hardest part of working without a producer was also kind of the most beneficial thing as well, because when you get into a situation where you're trying to decide on if a part is working or if some fill is working or a guitar line is working, when you're working with a producer, part of their purpose is so that you can turn to them and say, what do you think? And they say, yeah, I think it works, let's go with it. Right. And this time, there wasn't anybody to turn to, so it made us learn to trust each other and trust our abilities and trust our instincts. And I think it brought us a lot closer together. It made the working environment a lot more productive and healthy, I guess, because there wasn't always that out that you could turn to.
That's another question a lot of people had, was focusing on the fact that you keep maturing, you keep progressing, and now, especially with these 4 EPs, you're really pushing into new boundaries, and it's like, did that make it easier to cut this record because you want to keep pushing? It's like, let's not do what we did before, let's do something new, and so there's sort of that energy amongst all of you.
I think the key with this record was just us writing what came out and not scrapping anything because it didn't sound like Thrice, and then we were dividing it into these 4 separate elements that were really like opposing sides in a way. I mean, kind of. I guess the Air record is probably the most like a mix between a few, but I think for us making this record, it was just us putting out what actually comes out of us.
We can write anything we possibly want, and it doesn't matter, where it progresses from, because this project is so broad that you can kind of move anywhere from there.
And by doing it doing it by ourselves, like, we had the ability to do that, whereas before, you throw out all these parts or all these different songs, and they're kind of like all over the place, which has been kind of what we've done for the last 3 records, I guess. And then the producer's job was to kind of go, okay, let's like homogenize these and kind of combine them into something that's a little more cohesive. So with a project like this, it was a perfect opportunity to let those pieces be what they wanted to be and let those songs be what they want to be without somebody trying to funnel them into.
Yeah, I think that was key, because we let the songs or the ideas kind of be exactly what they wanted to be, other than trying to kind of morph it into what Thrice is kind of supposed to be, or whatever.
Right. And how do you feel about Identity Crisis? How do you look, like when you listen to it now, if you listen to it now, what do you think of it when you look back?
Do you feel like looking at pictures of yourself 10 years ago? Like it's not you anymore, like it was like a version of you, and it's like looking back, there's like a nostalgia to it, there's an embarrassment. So there's all of that, but you know, you also don't want to live your life like you did 10 years ago. And so we definitely have an appreciation for what that time was and what those songs were at the time. And we also just have a bunch of records now, and it's like, you know, we're excited about playing this stuff off the past few records much more so than we would be like playing that. So we try to mix it up and bring some more songs back into the set, but yeah, at the end of the day, we don't want to be, you know, pantomiming these things and this imitation of our old selves and not really having our hearts in doing that. You know? There's only so far you can go to please someone else before it becomes somewhat deceitful, I think, in your heart.
That's like a snapshot of us like trying to figure out what the hell we're doing, you know? It's like the demo that you make in your garage, basically, but we live in the studio. And it's like, we were still figuring stuff out there. So to go back to trying to reenact what it feels like to be totally confused and not know what the hell you're doing is a hard place to take yourself to, you know? And not necessarily a place you want to go to, but...
Stephen.
Steve.
Do you remember what your question was? I have it if you want.
I kind of do.
Well, it's Stephen, and I'll tell you what Stephen's question. He says, do you guys see yourselves still being Thrice 10 years from now? And someone else has to add to that, given that some of you have children now and you're getting older, but you're getting, you're having families, and how long can you seriously keep this going?
I don't think any of us have any clue, and we've never really looked that far in the future. We're always just kind of like, cool, let's make another record. And who knows? But I think we all love making music together, and we're in a place that we're really happy with the music we're making, and able to do it ourselves, which is really cool. And so I guess we'll see.
But 10 years from now, can you envision it? You can still be a band, still doing it?
I definitely think we could be.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years ago, when we started, I wouldn't have thought that we'd be 10 years later, like in a band. So, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, you don't know the future at all.
Did I answer your question?